all of these professional comedians and scientists. And here am I in performance studies, and what have I got for you? And jazz hands, right? But actually, the kind of performance that I do doesn't have much jazz hands in it. I know. Well, it can. Um, it doesn't actually have many performers in it, per se. It kind of doesn't have an audience, really. No plot, exactly, no script, really. So I know this sounds a lot like EastEnders, but I promise I actually do write a thesis on something. And that's, what I call it is game-led participatory performance. But don't run away. No one will have to participate in anything, I promise. What happens is when you come to one of my shows, which hopefully, Two Truths, Galway Theatre Festival, come to that in April. When you come to one of my shows, we play a game together. And in playing a game together, we create some art. And then I look at it in terms of what did people like about the person they played? What did people not like? What did people practice? What did they try out, experiment with? And how does that fit into the society outside the game? So it's a good time. I promise. Please come. I need more people. What I find is that it's amazing what people will do when you tell them that they can win. So, for example, one of my favorite games that I've run 5 times in Ireland now is called #FeminismNanoGames, which is all the buzzwords, right? And that's 30 scenarios written by an international group of game writers. One of them is called Mentioning the Unmentionables, which, content warning, is about lady bits. So thank you for introducing that subject. We've gotten rid of anyone who's not willing to talk about lady bits, because I'm going to talk about lady bits for a while now. Woohoo, lady bits. Yeah, it's great. It's a really good icebreaker because it's 3 scenarios and they're all kind of gently leading you into participation. The first one is really easy. It's a great game. You can take it home and play it with your friends or family, or hell, play with yourselves. That's kind of the deal. And we just sit in a circle and we say the names of films or books. And we're trying to beat the record. And the record at the moment is 76 titles in 3 minutes, which is a lot. That's really impressive. But there, of course, is a rule. And the rule is that you have to replace the main word of that title with the word vulva. And my participants have come up with some amazing things, right? Dances with vulvas. That was a good one. This season, I get a lot of things like a very merry vulva. Yay. Where the wild vulvas are, that was one of my favorites. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Vulva, which, if that is not fan fiction, somebody here needs to write it. Seriously. Little Red Vulva came up, and I thought you should probably see a doctor if that's what occurs to you. And there's always one guy, and it's always a guy in the crowd that he says, like, he's just thought of the most clever thing in the world. Lord of the Vulvas. And you just know he's imagining himself at the center of a shining sea of vulvas in some post-apocalyptic scenario. But fortunately, a couple of my participants at the last time I ran this really kind of took that down, and they were playing the game. You know, you're just trying to recite names as fast as you possibly can. And the gal following him said, "The man who knew about vulvas." And then the woman following her said, "Yeah, that's like a 10-second movie." I was glad she said it because I didn't have to. And then the next game is about coffee. We just have a conversation about coffee. It's just things like, I like a good frothy cappuccino in the morning. Or I need 2 cups of coffee before I can get out of bed, really. Or I am drinking coffee at my desk all day long. Or I am a coffee snob. I have all the coffee gadgets. Great. Then we repeat that same conversation as closely as possible, replacing coffee with masturbation. I like a good frothy orgasm. I can't get out of bed without at least 2 orgasms. I am at my desk masturbating all day. I am a masturbation snob. I have all the masturbation gadgets. My participants are great. They come up with these for me. But all of this is getting to the meat of it, which is the third game, in which we ask participants to actually improvise a little scene, 3 people. Everybody plays a protagonist at some point. And the rule here is that the protagonist is a person with a uterus. The scene starts when that person realizes that their period has bled through their clothing onto the surface beneath. And I can look out in the crowd and see the people who have probably had periods because your blood is now draining from your face. And that's the point, right? We have such shame around menstruation and women's sexuality, and like there's no other bodily substance which we regard with so much horror. So these games do make a difference. They let people talk about it, if nothing else. And I have had people come up to me and tell me, like I had one participant who came up a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Sarah, that game changed my life." And I thought, that's awesome. Yes, doing my job. He's got to have gone on social media, right, and injected himself into the conversation and said, we need to talk about women's sexuality. Or he's critically analyzing books and TVs in terms of what would this be like if women's sexuality, if menstruation was a thing. Bless his sweetheart. What he said was, no, seriously, I've changed everything. I have a trash bin in my bathroom. And I thought, well, baby steps. Thank you, everybody.